Okay, lesson 2.4 is called Equations with Variables on Each Side. We're on page 146, so if you are not there in your book, go ahead and pause the video. Okay, we are going to look at our first equation, which is 8 plus 4d equals 5d. Okay, so here's my equal sign. So this separates your sides. This is your right side, this is your left side. So if you notice, you have d's on both sides. So these are like terms. We need to move all the d's on one side and get them together. So remember, when you're solving equations, you're going to undo each operation in order to solve it, meaning you're going to do the opposite operation. So if I do the opposite of this positive 4d to move the 4d over here to combine it with the 5d, then that would look like subtracting 4d. So the opposite of a positive 4d is a negative 4d, and remember, whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other with equations. It's like balancing a scale. So if I take this 4d and do the opposite and move it to the opposite side, think, if you're moving it to the opposite side, you're going to do the opposite operation. These 4d's cancel each other out. A positive and a negative of the same thing added together equals 0. So you're going to bring down what you have left, which is 8. Bring down your equal sign, and now combine these two. I have 5d take away 4d is 1d, and I don't need to put the 1 in front. That is 1d right there. And I've solved it. I know what 1d equals, and it's 8. Okay, let's try another one. Let's try 6n take away 1 equals 4n take away 5. All right, so here's my equal sign. If you notice, you have 6n on the left and 4n on the right. So I need to pick one of these and move it to the other side to get all the n's on one side. So anytime you have a choice, choose the smaller variable. That way you won't end up with a negative variable. So if I choose a smaller variable, that is a positive 4n. So the opposite of that is a negative 4n. So I'm going to subtract 4n from both sides. Okay, so 4n take away 4n. These are opposites and they cancel each other out when you add them together. I have a negative 5 left. Bring that down. Bring your equal sign down. And now this side, 6n minus 4n, because this is a positive and a negative, I'm going to subtract and use the sign of the bigger number. So 2n, and then that minus 1. So now what I have left is a two-step equation. So I move the 4n over and I have all my n's on one side. Now I need to do the exact same thing with my numbers. So I've got my 2n over here. Now I need to move the 1 over to the right side and combine it with the negative 5. So the opposite of this negative 1 is a positive 1. Remember, if you're moving something to the opposite side of the equation, you're going to do the opposite. So these opposites cancel each other out. I have 2n left on that side equals, now I'm going to combine these. Negative 5 plus 1. Remember, if the signs are opposite, you're going to subtract and use the sign of the bigger number. Negative 5 plus 1 is negative 4. And now I'm going to do the opposite here. I'm trying to get n by itself. So 2 next to n means multiply, so I'm going to divide by 2 instead. So 2 divided by 2 is 1n, and that's what I have left, 1n, equals negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. So I have solved for n. All right, let's look at a word problem. So at the top of page 147, let's look at this word problem. Okay, so I have Green's Gym charges a one-time fee of $50 plus $30 per session for a personal trainer. A new fitness center charges a yearly fee of $250 plus $10 for each session with the trainer. For how many sessions is the cost of the two plans the same? Okay, so they want you to compare these two fitness centers and figure out how many sessions would you need to buy in order to pay the exact same with each gym. So we're going to set up an equation. Okay, we're going to write Green's Gym information on the left and the new fitness center on the right. Okay, so now Green's Gym charges a one-time fee of $50. So you just pay $50 one time. So we're going to write $50. We just pay it one time. Plus $30 per session. So I'm actually going to write plus, and I pay $30 per session. This is extremely important. This per session means that I'm going to pick a variable and put it next to that, because I'm going to pay $30 every time I want a personal training session. $30 next to your variable because it's $30 per session. Okay, now because I'm going to put New Fitness Center's information, I'm going to put my equal sign here. So now, New Fitness Center charges a yearly fee of $250, so you pay that one time per year. So we're going to write $250 plus $10 for each session. So now we're going to put 10 next to our variable that we picked. Mind you, we're using the same variable because we're talking about personal training sessions with both gyms. So it's kind of hard to tell how many sessions that you're going to have to buy in order to pay the same amount, because they both charge different amounts. So if we set this equation up and now solve it, we'll be able to figure that out. Okay, so what I want to do, I have two variables, two different numbers that have an x next to them. I need to pick one of these and move it to the other side. I want all my x's on one side. So remember, if you have a choice, move the smaller one. So I'm going to move this 10x. This is a positive. The opposite of that is a negative 10x. So I'm going to subtract 10x. So remember, I'm going to combine what's left. These opposites cancel each other out, and I'm going to bring down what's left. 250 equals. And now I'm going to subtract because my signs are different. So 30 minus 10 is 20x, and it's a positive. Use the sign of the bigger number, and then bring down the 50. Okay, so I moved the 10x to the other side and combined it with the 30x, and now I have 20x. Now I need to do the same thing to the 50. I have to move the 50 to the right side and combine it with this number because these two are like terms. So the opposite of this positive 50 is a negative 50. These opposites cancel each other out. I have 20x equals, and now 250, take away 50 is 200. Okay, so now my last step, I need to figure out what x equals. So I want x by itself. This means multiply, so I'm going to do the inverse and divide by 20. So 20 divided by 20 is 1x, and then 200 divided by 20, you can actually reduce this. You can cross off one set of zeros, and 20 divided by 2 is 10, or you could just divide 200 by 20. So we found x is 10, so that means you would buy 10 sessions in order to pay the same amount with either gym. Okay, we have time for one more, so let's try one more. Let's go back to a two-step equation, 3x